What's up, everybody? Pat here from Crystal Tower Games, coming at you with another deck tech. This was one hell of a deck to try to build. It was very difficult for a lot of reasons. I really like this character, and I really wanted him to shine. I misread him, built a deck, realized I misread him, and then kind of decided I think the deck will still be okay. It might not be as optimized as I want it to be, but I think it'll actually still function even despite my mistake going into but I'm definitely open to a lot of criticism on this deck. This deck was built a little differently than I normally do, and I haven't even done like the playtesting for it, so I don't even have like a my typical how fast can it win uninterrupted. But he's very strong. So let's just get into it. Squall, Seed Mercenary, he's a 4 cost commander with a 3/4, and his Rough Divide means that whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gains double strike till end of turn. Basically, we want him to be the one attacking alone because of his next ability, which says when Squall deals combat damage to a player, return target permanent card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that happens both times. So if he has double strike, the first time he hits your opponent, he gets to bring something back, and the second time he hits somebody um, off the double strike, he'll get to bring something back. So we definitely want him to be swinging and be getting our stuff back. And there are a couple of choice options that we really want to bring back that we'll talk about as we work through this deck. Um, but we'll start off with bombs. These aren't really bombs in the traditional sense that I typically describe a bomb as something's on the field that has to be dealt with or it will end the game in your favor. Um, these are kind of like grenades. Um, Aardvark Warrior of Darkness, history costs. I'm not going to point out everything that can get brought back with Squall, but rather I'm going to point out the things that can't be brought back because that's how lopsided it is. I definitely built this deck to be very low cost CMC. So a better deck builders might actually be able to skim some mana out of the deck, maybe a couple of lands, and put some other stuff in there. But I actually had a hard time filling my 55 card slots because I do 55 cards, 5 mana rocks, and the rest land. Um, but I just struggled. Usually I'm struggling to figure out what to cut out. I was actually struggling to figure out what to put in this deck. But anyway, I digress. Um, when you cast a white spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain vigilance until end of turn. Whenever you cast a black spell, put a +1/+1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain menace until end of turn. He's a 2/2. So if you cast Aardvark, for example, or if you have Aardvark out and you cast Squall, he's gonna get both. Plus, he's gonna get two +1/+1 counters and um, Vigilance and Menace. Squall won't because he's still on the stack, but Aardvark will in that scenario. So that's something to keep in mind. And because everything costs not a lot, you might be getting this off a lot. You might get this like 2 or 3 times per turn. So that's very handy, especially the Vigilance going into a double strike is pretty nifty. This one's fun. Arden Interpret Archaeologist. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may attach any number of ores and equipment you control to target permanent players. It's just a really fun card that lets me control where my ores and equipment are going at the same time. So you definitely don't, if you're playing against this, you definitely don't want somebody to control that every combat. Equipment is supposed to be costly to change. So that's supposed to be the balance. And ores don't change. Um, so this can get a little wonky. Judge Magister Gerbrandt, his menace. Whenever another creature or artifact you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on Judge Magistrate Gerbrandt. He's actually really weak. I would cut him if I find something better. Um, because he could be enormous. He could be a 10/10, or he could be, a 3/3. He's just kind of your random factor. And again, uh, I'd definitely be open to cutting this card for another card. This card, however, is awesome. Um, she cannot be brought back with Squall because she costs 4. She has double strike, and auras you control have exalted. Whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until each of uh, until end of turn for each instance of exalted among permanents you control. So if you have 5 auras on Squall and you attack with him alone, he's gonna get +5/+5 till end of turn, and that just keeps building up the more auras you throw on him. So that's a pretty powerful card. Um, so yeah. And then we're just gonna go down the list because if I try to jump around, I'm gonna I'll miss a whole thing. So here we have Death Magic. I see what I did there. Okay. Um, Now you're gonna see that most of the things in here do exactly what this does. So I'm gonna just talk about this mechanic real quick. So Curse Barada, um, you can bring him back with Squall. All of these things you're gonna be able to bring back with Squall, and they all pretty much do the exact same thing. When this creature enters, each player sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Um, this rolling, you also have to do it, but you can sacrifice the Accursed Marauder, and then everybody else has to sacrifice. So what we really want to see happen is I swing with Squall, I get double strike. My first strike hits, and I bring back a Cursed Marauder. With that trigger on the stack, I sacrifice the Cursed Marauder, and everybody else at the table has to sack a non-token creature. And then my second hit, I bring back a Cursed Marauder, and then everybody has to sacrifice another creature, and I'm going to sacrifice the Cursed Marauder. So in this way, you can really just wipe out your opponents so that they don't really even have creatures to deal with. And then if you can make it to where Squall's the only creature, maybe somebody's putting out a creature and trying to it's just going to make it to where it's going to be very difficult for your opponents to keep creatures aside from tokens. But a Curse Marauder makes it to where they have to sacrifice the non-tokens creatures, and that could actually hurt their token generation because a lot of token decks will use a non-token to either generate tokens or to uh, really emphasize what they're doing with their tokens, and so you're going to get rid of those. And they're not going to be able to just sack a token to it. Anguish Unmaken is a spell, so even though it costs less than 3, you can't bring it back because it's not a permanent. Exile target non-land permanent, you lose 3 life. Just get rid of whatever you don't want on the battlefield. Demon's Disciple, basically a Cursed Marauder. When this creature enters, players sacrifice a creature or planeswalker of their choice. Now, you get to hit planeswalkers with this, but then your token players can sacrifice their tokens to this. So, give or take, but it basically does the same thing. Flashbang Marauder, same thing. Creature of their choice, so they can get tokens. So a Cursed Marauder is a little bit better in that sense, depending on what you're trying to get rid of. Merciless Eviction, exact same thing. Have to exile another spell, exile target creature for 1, and they get to go get a basic land card of their choice and put it onto the battlefield tap. So you do give them a little bit of mana ramp, but if you're getting rid of something that's going to win them the game, you did it. Uh, Playcrafter is my favorite one. When this creature enters, each player sacrifices a creature or planeswalker of their choice. Each player who can't discards a card. So once you've got them wiped out, just keep bringing this guy back and have them discard their card. And once you have them with no creatures, no planeswalkers, and no cards, you basically have already won the game. So at that point, you're just cleaning house. And then Swords to Plowshare, exile target creature. Its controller gains life equals to its power. I don't really care about. Oh, and then Vindicate. Vindicate destroys target permanent. Um, Too soon for this art. Still hurts. So now we have Draw Magic. These are just cards that are going to draw you cards. So Archivist of Algama. Whenever an opponent searches their library, you gain 1 life and draw a card. They're going to search a lot. And you flash it in, so you can just hold it up if you need to. Buster Sword. Alright. Now I did look up the rulings for this. So we're going to talk about it. It's pretty important here. So equipped creature gets +3 +2, and then whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to the damage without paying its mana cost. That means the damage you just did with whatever's equipped with the Buster Sword. Um, from that creature. So like if I attack with Squall and somebody else and Squall has the Buster Sword, it's not going to count all the damage, just the damage I did with the equipped creature that has Buster Sword. So that's point 1 I want to make. Point 2 is this ignores timing restriction. And what that means is you have to cast the spell when this trigger goes on the stack. So if you equip this to Squall and I swing in and I get my first strike attack, this trigger goes onto the stack and must immediately resolve before the next attack happens. So we're still in the middle of combat. Now with that said, because it ignores timing restriction, that means I could cast a creature or sorcery. It's not limited to just instances. It's whatever I can actually pay with this card. So that's really powerful, especially if you're trying to drop creatures that will help in the next round of combat. Um, or an aura, you could throw an aura on him so his next strike does a lot more damage. So this is a really good card. And then of course when you hit again, you're gonna get the exact same thing you get, and of course it still ignores timing restriction. So that's just something I want to point out. Very powerful card. Kafka's Tower, but it is really Bolas Citadel. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. You may cast a spell this way. You may pay, or if you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than pay its mana cost. This can drain your life, but it can give you a lot of stuff really fast. And then if you can sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, each opponent loses 10 life. You might be able to kill somebody with that. Um, I like it. I really like Bullet Citadel. Morbid's Opportunities. Oh, you also can't get this back. I just want to point that out. You can get a Buster Sword back. You can get him back. Can't get this back. You can also get this back. Morbid Opportunities. Whenever one or more creature dies, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. So you only get one card per turn, but it doesn't have to be your turn. So if your opponent on their turn kills one of your other opponent's creatures, you still get a draw card. Just keep that in mind. It's not relegated to your turn or to your creatures. It's any creature. Phyrexia Arena, sick art here, and for only $4, it's pretty nice. At the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card and you lose one life. Boom, boom. You can bring it back. Scram, Senior Artificer. Whenever you cast an ore and equipment, we have a lot of those, or vehicle spells, draw a card. So you should be able to draw a bunch of those. I think that was the end of that. No? Okay. Whenever one or more cards leaves your graveyard, choose choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Draw a card, create a treasure token, or create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. Honestly, if you need a treasure token, you can get that. Otherwise, I would just do it in this order. You know, it's optional, so you do what you gotta do. And I really like cards that let you just choose what's best to do in the middle of the situation. Trouble in Pairs. I like this one actually. This is a fun one. Unfortunately, you can't bring it back with Squall, but it is really fun. If an opponent would begin an extra turn, that player skips this turn instead. So that shuts down Narset right off the rip. Sad. She's my fave. All right. Anyway, whenever an opponent attacks you with two or more creatures, draws their second card each turn, or casts their second spell each turn, you draw a card. Um, this could happen all at once, right? Well, not all at once, but it could happen multiple times, right? So if an opponent plays two spells, you draw a card. If they also in that same turn um, draw two cards, you get to draw a card. And then if they also in that same turn attack you with two creatures, you're gonna draw a card. So you could potentially draw, up to three cards. It's just a really fun card to really. It's like a I don't know. Uh, it'll stop somebody from swinging two creatures or more at you. At some point, it's not gonna happen every time. At some point you just gotta give a player a card and just kill them. But it will definitely give you, uh, it's gonna get you a card, and it will prevent people from attacking you. So it's kind of like a, heads I win, tails you lose kind of card. And then Junction Strength, what I have for these are just cards that really just pump you up. I don't know why it's using that art, but that's kind of a crazy art. And that can't be only 30 cents. Anyway, all that glitters. Um, Enchant creature, this is an ore, can come back. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact and or equipment and or enchantment you control. So that's really powerful. With artifact, I just want you to note that it does not just mean equipment. So your mana rocks or any other artifact that you have that's not an equipment also counts for this. Um, Ethereal Armor, it's kind of the same thing. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control and has first strike. So the first strike won't matter on Squall because he already has double strike. And this is just going to just keep getting you bigger and bigger. So you put these both on him and you got a really strong creature. So we're going to junction some strength. I'm so clever. Alright. Life magic. The companion part of this doesn't matter because we're not using that. So we're just going to ignore that and focus on this. So obviously you bring this guy back. He's a 3/2. He has lifelink, which, is always nice. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a permanent spell with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard. So it kind of already does what Squall's already doing, but it lets me do it. So you do have to cast it as the only thing. But it just basically makes all your 2 drops more viable, you know? It just gives you, I'm already bringing things back. So there's like this weird recursion going on. I feel like we're playing green, but we're not playing green. So it's kind of nice. Um, and then the Darkness Crystal, black spells you cast cost one less to cast. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, instead exile it and you gain 2 life. Um, yeah, I mean, just you're going to be killing a lot of their creatures with the flashbang marauders and things like that. So just getting some life and making sure that their creatures don't come back is actually really nice. Now you will be in trouble if they make sure your graveyard gets exiled, which will be a target. Let me tell you. If they can Buki Bog as we like to call it, uh, your graveyard is gone. So be very careful about what you're putting in there and when you're putting them in, and kind of read the room. Um, but also for 6, you can put target creature card exiled with this, with Darkness Crystal onto the battlefield, tapped and under your control with 2 additional +1/+1 counters on it. So you get rid of their Vorn clicks and bring them back, they're gonna feel that pain. This is a really nice card. Then we're going to we'll just do our mana rocks. I typically choose 5. We have Arcane Signet, add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity, so white, black, Rattles Rip, Chrome Mox. Um, you do have to exile a non-artifact, non-land card in your hand, so sometimes this might just sit in your hand and it might be awkward. But if you get it off, especially in the beginning of the game, you can sack a high costing cost, and for 0, you can already be on, a land plus Chrome Mox, already at 2. Um, it's just nice ramp. Mana Vault, I've been thinking about replacing Mana Vault. I've been using it since I built High Urza High Lord Artificer, but it doesn't really. It's fine. It's no mana crypt though. Um, but you can throw it down once and get something really powerful off. Um, I don't know. I'm open to another mana rock that's more efficient. Maybe one of the talisman would be better. Excuse me. So I don't know. I'm gonna play around with it a little bit more and see if I like Manifold in all my decks, or just very specific decks. But I have a feeling it might just be very specific decks. But anyway, there it is. It doesn't untap during your untap step. You have to pay 4 mana to untap it, and if it is tapped during your draw step, you take 1 damage. But it taps for 3 colors. So and it only costs 1. Can get it back. So if you guys somehow sacrifice this and get it back with Squall, it will come in untapped. So that's something cool. Mox Diamond. If this artifact would enter, you may discard a land card instead. If you do, put this artifact onto the battlefield. If you don't, put it onto its owner's graveyard, and it taps for 1 mana of any color. So, just turn 1, turn 2, just real high mana ramp. And then, of course, we've got Soul Ring for 1, tap for 2. Now Meltdown, uh, for those who don't know, Meltdown is a spell in Final Fantasy VIII that removes all the defense of a player. So it kind of does the same thing here. So Brotherhood Regalia, equipped creature has Ward 2, is an assassin in addition to its other type, and can't be blocked. So basically you remove their ability to even stop Squall. Equip legendary creature, 1. Everything else, 3. So we're basically trying to put this on Squall and have him swing in where nobody can touch him. So Spirit Mantle enchant creature gets +1/+1 and protection from creatures, which means they can't block Squall. You see the pattern? I don't want you to even have the ability to block him. I want to hit you and I want to get my effect off. So Meltdown. Unquestioned authority. When this aura enters, draw a card. Enchant creature has protection from creatures. So also, if you somehow give him vigilance, he can block. He doesn't get double strike when he blocks, but if you give him protection from creatures, they just can't do any damage to him. So you just block and kill things. It's really cool. Mighty Guard, this is a Final Fantasy spell. These are just things that would give a lot of effects all at once. So Daybreak Coronet costs 2. Enchant creature with another aura attached to it. This is a really tricky one. You cannot put this on a creature unless it already has another aura on it. Alright. Enchant creature gets +3. +3. They're cutting the grass right now. It's awesome. So hopefully you guys aren't picking that up. But What can you do? Life is life. Enchant creature gets +3/+3 and has first strike, vigilance, and lifelink. Damage dealt by this creature also calls its controller to gain that much life. So you're giving him a boost, and you're giving him the first strike doesn't matter, but the vigilance is really nice, especially if your aura gives him protection from creatures. And the lifelink, of course, we like lifelink. Um, we don't seek it out, but the +3/+3 is a killer, especially if you're trying to kill with commander damage, which should be in this deck, because I think you can pull it off. Gift of Orzhov. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 and has flying and lifelink. Not really here for the lifelink, but definitely here for the flying in an attempt to be able to just get Cloud. My bad. Squall. He's really Cloud 2.0, but to get Squall in there, uh, without being blocked. I don't want him blocked. I don't want you to stop him. I want to get my commander damage so I can get my thing off. So flying will help with that. And then +1/+1's always nice. Sword of Light and Shadow. I have mixed feelings about this one, honestly. I think this will be a card I cut, and I'll explain why. It is a cool card, and it thematically fits with what we're trying to do. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from white and from black. When equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you gain 3 life, and you may return up to 1 target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So that last part's really good. Here's what I don't like about it. If you equip this to Squall or any of your creatures, you can no longer put auras on him. Because he has protection from white and from black. And all of your auras are either white and or black. Which means this is just what it is, right? And here's the worst part. If you have auras that are attached to like let's say I have this aura on Squall and then I equip Light and Shadow because he now has protection from white and black, that aura that is on him will fall off and go to the graveyard. So this really hurts the deck in the sense of like trying to get off what I'm trying to get off. Um, Another sword that doesn't give him protection from white or black might be better. So this is one that I'm really on the fence with. When I was putting it in, I was thinking, well, I can put it on something else, potentially, especially if like Squall already has double strike, then I don't really need. I don't need to care about him attacking alone, and then I can attack with other things. I don't know. That's kind of my thought process. Very open to cutting that card and picking just a different sword or anything else that doesn't do that. Um, sort of WAP, or I mean Wealth and Power. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from instants and sorceries. So this is pretty nice. It will mean that you can't target your creature with any of your instants and any of your sorceries. But I don't really think we have that, so we're Gucci. Or we should be. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. When you next cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for that spell. This is a really good card to be able to play Vindicate with. So you swing with somebody, you hit them, you Vindicate. Now you're going to copy Vindicate and hit something else. It's just really nice. Um, so those are it for like multiple effects. Again, this is and then one-on-one, Promise of Loyalty. Love this card. It's a fun card. Each player puts a Vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifice the rest. Each of those creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control for as long as it has a Vow counter on it. I mean, it's really good. Single combat. Each player chooses a creature or planeswalker they control, then sacrifices the rest. Players can't cast creatures or planeswalker spells until the end of your next turn. So, I mean, like, you're already pumping everything you can into Squall anyway. You might as well just kill everything else and just have at it and then swing with him and then flashbang Marauder the creatures they didn't kill. See how that worked? It's awesome. I heard something in the other room. I thought I was alone. I think my wife just came home. So, no, I'm just joking, but it just this kind of spooked me a little bit. Not spooked. I'm not spooked, but anyway, we're moving on. All right, so that's all for this. I'll go over lands if we have time, which we might. We're going pretty fast. All right, protection magic. Bastion Protector. Commander creatures you control have +2/+2 and have indestructible. So I mean, just sweet. You know, basically there's a lot of these. Um, Actually, I meant to see. Yeah, so all of this stuff you can get back. So like I said, most of the deck is converted mana cost 3 or less. So you know we're rocking that theme pretty well. Um, Brotherhood Outcast. When this creature enters, choose one. You can return target aura or equipment card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that aura comes right onto a creature. It has to. The equipment, not so much. It just comes onto the battlefield and you'll have to equip. But you got that going for you. Put a shield counter on target creature. If it would be dealt damage or destroyed, remove a shield counter from it instead. So just a little bit of protection. Not a lot, but you know, whatever. Um, but you could also sacrifice this. Like if you have Flashbang Marauder and you sack this guy and then bring him back, um, you can put another shield counter. You could just stack as many shield counters on your guy, and I think only one gets removed. Remove a shield counter from it instead. So yeah, I would read that as you only have to remove one, even if you have 5. So that's a little something a little tricky. You know, don't be afraid to get rid of this guy so that you can keep bringing him back with Squall. Uh, Codsworth, handy helper. Commanders you control have Ward 2, which means they have to pay, if you target him with something, you have to pay an extra 2. You can tap him to add 2, spend this mana to cast auras and or equipment spells. Well, how about that? That's what we're doing in this deck. Um, and then you can tap him to attach target aura or equipment you control to target creature you control. Activate only as a sorcery. So yeah, that's like really good. I can, you know, if I have Cogsworth out, I can maybe put an aura on something else until I have Squall out there or even whatnot. Just options are nice, and being able to switch your auras around that normally can't is really helpful. Hyena Umbra, really love this card. +1/+1, and it has first strike, but it also has Umbra armor. If an attached creature would be destroyed, instead remove all damage from it and destroy this aura. So, really nice. Robe of Stars, equipped creature gets +0/+3. Astral Projection, 3. Equipped creature phases out. Treat it and anything attached to it as though it doesn't exist until its controller's next turn. So if somebody tries to like spot removal, like Vindicate, for instance, your Squall, just be like, no, I'll pay 2 and he's not even there anymore. He's in space. Which is thematic. Selfless Spirit, sacrifice this creature. Creatures you control gain indestruction until end of turn. Um, Again, Squall can bring this back. So let that sink in because that's really cool. Um, so then we also have Solitary Confinement. At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this enchantment unless you discard a card. I can discard a card that can be brought back with Squall. Okay, no problem. Skip your draw step. Kinda sucks. You have Shroud. I can't be the target of spells or abilities. That's cool. The last ability, though, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you. I can kind of keep this going. For a little while. I mean, I have to be able to draw cards outside of something from my draw step, but discarding cards from my hand is not that big of a problem, and giving all my stuff protection. This is a really good card. It's not going to be like it has its drawbacks, so you just have to really be careful with how you play the card and how you play around it. But it's definitely has a lot of potential in this deck. Um, Swiftfoot Boots, equipped creature has hexproof and haste. Equip 1, you know, put on Squall so you can swing out quickly. Timely Ward, you may cast this spell as though it had flash. If you targets a commander, enchant creature has indestructible. It's an aura, so you just put this on and now he's just indestructible until they get rid of the aura. Just, you know, they can exile him, they can give him -1/-1s, they can make you sacrifice him. But, you know, just having it indestructible, at least you can swing out and not care what they do, for the most part. Is that it? Um, I can name this quick. I didn't really have another thematic. Whatever. You may cast aura and equipment spells as though they had flash. That's nifty because, you know, they decide to block. And then you drop an aura, so now you're winning that fight. Hey, man, don't block my creature next time. Or don't block when this is out. When an equipment you control enters, you may attach it to target creature you control. That's really handy. Um, for not having to pay the equipment cost of something. So, you know, it's nice. We do have one ramp, Dark Ritual. I don't know why I picked that art for it. I usually like newer, more updated cards. Um, so Dark Ritual just adds 3 mana, 3 black mana to, you know, for 1. So you basically get 2 extra black mana. Um, you know, we're all about ramping. If you can pull this off turn 1, you know, we would like to cast Squall turn 1, turn 2. That's our goal. So this can definitely get you there. Has to be in your hand, of course, but it doesn't break. Alright, Ginger Glove. I put this in here specifically because it gives a creature double strike, because I misread that Rough Divide already gives me double strike, because that's the kind of Magic player I am. But, you know, it's still worth putting it, this is still worth putting it on Squall for its second ability. Whenever a equipped creature attacks, if it is the first combat phase of the turn, untap it. After this phase, there's an additional combat phase, so you're going to be able to just get all your stuff again. Another good reason to put this on Squall is now you can attack with more than just Squall, because Squall is going to have double strike no matter what, and you don't care about the Rough Divide anymore. So it's still not bad. I probably wouldn't have put it in the deck, but I'm actually really glad it's here. It does not come back though. It's a 5 cost, so you know they get rid of this. It's not coming back with Squall. Sword of Feast and Famine, one of my favorite swords of all time, one of the most busted ones. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from black and from green. Now, again, with this out, you're not going to be able to enchant uh, whatever creature this is attached to with any black auras. So, but we're mostly doing white, and only a few do black and white. So you should be fine with this one. And it's just really, really powerful. Whenever an equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, that player discards a card and you untap all your lands. I mean, it's really nice. Um, but again, if you're looking to cut something, these swords, honestly, these two swords are worth, maybe looking at something else that won't make your stuff fall off. And then I would definitely keep this. This is just a really, really good card. Um, And then this is some slow magic, which is basically my way of saying control. This has first strike, vigilance, and lifelink, and auras and equipment spells you control cost one less to cast, so that's pretty powerful. This is the generic cost, so in this, you would never be able to get rid of the white. It would only reduce the generic portion right here, so it would only bring that 2 down to a 1. So just make sure you play that correctly. As for Sentinel, uh, whenever any opponent casts their first non-creature spell each turn, draw a card unless that player pays X. Where X is I can't talk. Where X is that creature's power. So basically, the more powerful this is, the more mana they have to pay for the first non-creature spell. This could be put under card draw, but I don't want to consider this card draw. I'm just trying to make them pay mana and control them. If I get a card, cool. But this isn't card draw in my mind because somebody could deny it. See? So it falls under control. Because if they're denying it, then that means I've controlled their board. And if they're not denying it, I still kind of controlled the grand scheme of things by being able to draw a card out of turn. Silent Arbiter is really awesome. No more than one creature can attack each combat, and no more than one creature can block each combat. Really thematic for what we're going here. So that's great. And then, of course, we've got 3 tutors. We've got Demonic Tutor, search your library for a card. It could be any card. Put that card into your hand, then shuffle. Enlightened Tutor, you may search your library for an artifact or enchantment card, reveal it, and put that, then shuffle and put that card on top. So, before it's your turn, play this card, get whatever aura or equipment you want for what you're trying to do. And then Vampiric Tutor is basically Demonic Tutor with more cost. Search your library for a card, then shuffle and put that on top. You lose 2 life. And then a little win con. I've seen this, this can close out games. Repeat the following process X time. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent of their choice or discards a card. Now, hopefully, with the Flashbang Marauder type of creatures, you've already been wrecking their board state, so they don't really have much to sacrifice. Um, and if you're able to get some of their cards out of the way, hopefully you can make this go off and do some real damage. Now, you're probably not going to win off this card, but you might be able to kill somebody with this card, and that's almost just as important. It's a mini win con, if you will. Alright, 34 minutes. The lands are pretty standard. If you look at any of my decks, I pretty much try to run all the fetch land. I've been debating on whether or not to take Urza's Saga out of all of my decks, but it gets you your Soul Ring at the end, and a creature, so I think it's pretty cool. The main thing I want to really point out with this deck, the main Obviously this can get your enchantment cards back from your graveyard if anything goes wonky wonky. Um, but the main one, where is it? Oh, it'd be really crappy if I didn't put it in. Here it is, Rogue's Passage. Uh, you pay 4, target creature can't be blocked this turn. It's expensive, and hopefully by the time like you're set up and ready to swing with Squall, you don't need this, but it is there for an option if you need it. Um, but everything else is pretty standard, you know, fetch lands, blah blah, shock lands, filter lands, you know, all the good stuff. Um, and that was a lot. We have a little bit of time left. Try to keep this. Let's play test the video real quick. So I would actually keep this because I have Dark Ritual and enough lands. So if we keep this, we draw a card for turn, and then we want to get Mox Diamond out here. We are going to have to discard a land, but that's not a big deal. What we're actually going to discard is the Swamp. We'll discard the Swamp because now this taps for any color. So we basically have another one of these. Um, So we're Gucci right there. If I pay 1, if I pay that, I'll add 3. So look at this. I paid that to pay the Dark Ritual. This was just a perfect hand to kind of showcase this, right? So now I have 3 black in my mana pool. I'll pay it right there. Oh, white mana with that one. And now turn 1 I've got Squall. That's the dream, right? Now, obviously, they can kill him. You know, they have to exile, things like that. You know, he does die to removal. Um, but turn 1 commander is always fun, always cool. But we'll just keep going. And again, the whole point is uninterrupted. So this is actually my first test run. So we'll see how it goes. And you know, I try to make these videos 40 minutes or less. So we'll see if we can get through it. We'll pay this. And as 1 mana, add to your mana pool 1 mana any type that a land you can control produces. Basically just became another one of these. So we can just stack these up together. We've got 3 mana. Um, uh, it's going to make me unblockable, but we want something with some zing. We'll go ahead and put this out. We'll attack for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we'll go to the next turn. Alright, we'll put a land out. This costs 2 to equip. Oh, okay. I'm doing this backwards. Alright, there we go. It costs 2 to equip, so we'll pay these 2, and then, is this a sorcery? Pretty sure this is a sorcery. So we'll search our deck for a card. I'm just gonna go get the biggest thing I can think of to get. I mean, that's actually not bad at this point in the game. Trying to push damage in. So this is the other thing too, is I don't have to be as, um, I would really like to get that, but I don't have an aura attached to it. I don't have to be as picky with this. I can just go get the thing that would literally help me push out the most damage, which is not maybe something I would have to do in a real game. In a real game, I might have to be a little bit more selective. Um, let's get, oh, what would you get if you could you're just trying to push out damage? Let me think. I'm just gonna go get, yeah, this is fine. Where does it go? To my hand. Okay. So that's in my hand, but I'm just gonna put it on him. So he gets +1/+1 for each artifact and enchantment. So I have to pay that. Um, so it's gonna count this artifact. So 1, 2, 3. So this is giving him +3. And this is giving him +2. So we're at 5. Um, and then we'll just swing out. So he's at 8, so he's going to do 16 damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I get a treasure token, and the next instance I cast um, would basically be copied, but I don't have an instance, so we're just going to go to our next turn. Oh, there we go. This will pump him up by 1 because of all that glitter. So now it's giving 1, 2, 3, 4 plus the 2, so we're at 6. So we're at 9. So we're going to be swinging in with 18. It's exactly how much he has. So uninterrupted, we won on turn 4. Now this was the draw of draws. This was probably the best uninterrupted hand I could ever wish for, right? Um, Now, in a multiplayer game, they might have been able to remove Squall early on, um, or disrupt him in some way. So that would be a bummer. But if they can't answer him, you could just see how quickly he's just going to murk somebody. Um, So yeah, thanks for paying attention to this video. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, make a comment. I do want to hear changes that y'all would make to the deck, because by no means is this deck perfect. And also, I'll have the Twitch, a link to my Twitch account, which you can look at the schedule there for upcoming games and stuff like that. But yeah, really appreciate it, guys. Peace.